this pack of cards. It's the nearest we can get, apparently, to the original tarot. The tarot is, as you all know, it's a game of cards. It's a fortune-telling device. It has its origins way back. We don't know when, but apparently it goes all the way back to ancient Egypt. And according to Jodorowsky himself, who is the author of this book is the guide to the reconstructed pack that we're looking at tonight. These images are perhaps the only book that survived the burning of the great libraries of antiquity. They are what's left of all those fantastic storehouses of knowledge, which was destroyed, for example, in the Alexandrian Library in the 1st century AD, and all these other libraries of knowledge. These cards were preserved by temple initiates. They were kept in secret. They were passed on to the Gnostics and then to the alchemists, and protected against zealous Christian authorities, and they have come down to us. So they kind of preserve knowledge that is thousands of years old, and that is why there is so much meaning in them, and why we can read anything we like into these images, which I hope I'm doing in a responsible way tonight. So I do recommend this book by Alejandro Jodorowsky, who is a Mexican film director. He's done a brilliant job of reconstructing from many different variations on the original Tarot of Marseille. Right, okay, so we got to the card with no name, which presumably is the death card, the death of the ego, and also perhaps the ending of duality. And then we came to this terrifying concept that duality itself, if duality applies to everything, must have an opposite. So what is that? Well, we can call it unity, can't we? And it's referred to by Tony Parsons as the nothing and the everything. If duality has an opposite, we can place it next to duality and call it unity. And we can say that, yes, these two are in opposition to each other. But unity, being the nothing and the everything, is going to be something that is totally beyond description. It's got to be. Because how can we apply thinking to it? Our language is based on the material reality, and therefore we can think about things, we can talk about things. But if we're talking about something that is outside of duality, it must be beyond what we can even think about. So it's unimaginable. So all we can do is we can refer to it, but we can't really do anything more than that. In the teachings of Don Juan by Carlos Castaneda, there's a section on what he called the Terno and the Nagual, and the sorcerer is the one who knows how to enter the world of the Nagual, which is the world beyond what anything that can be described, that can be visualized. It is the world of sorcery, of miracles, of enchantment. And that is now the world that the tarot is plunging us into as we go beyond materiality with the death card and into the next series of the next few cards in this series. The next card appropriately has a lady, an angel, it seems, holding two jugs. And what she's doing is pouring and receiving at the same time, from one jug into the next, pouring and receiving. So there's the idea there of action and inaction, or doing and not doing, or acting and receiving. And in between those two jugs, we've got the flow of liquid, which is like an energy flow, in the shape of a lemniscate, which is a kind of infinity symbol, because it's crossed over, which seems to be saying that this liquid is now outside of the normal parameters of time and space. You know, this symbol, it's like an 8 on its side. It symbolises eternity and infinity. It's beyond time and space. By pouring, by mixing the liquids, by blending them, we are taken outside of time and space and materiality. This can only be if one of those jugs symbolises the opposite of polarity. That's how I read being, with a capital B, into this card. And we have this, not only that infinity shape with the energy flow, but we also have the fact that it's an impossible position. It's an impossible trajectory. It's a diagonal trajectory, which isn't actually possible in real life. That is another example of a miracle, which these few cards are showing us. We've entered the wheel with the miraculous now, and the angel is showing us how that is possible. It's not us, okay? We don't have to do anything. It's not us who has to create this blending of opposites. It happens anyway if we just allow our essential nature to be, because this is the being part of the major arcana. The angel, our essential nature, our higher self, our guardian angel, will take care of our lives for us if we only give her a chance. So I read into this card the law of opposites that governs our dream. Yes, okay, because we have got the two jugs there. But the interconnection of all opposites, and this is so vitally important, that opposites belong together, and they are not actually separate like we think they are. The Tao of Lao Tzu, the Tao Te Ching, I think it's called, constantly reiterates the idea that opposites belong together. High and low, rich and poor, low and light and dark, doing and being. They define each other. They cannot even be imagined without each other. We make a tremendous mistake when we say, I am this, I am not that. I am a giver, I'm not a taker. I'm an action person, I'm not a lazy person. I'm a hard worker, I'm a fighter, I'm not a coward, that kind of thing. We make a mistake when we say that, because you cannot be a fighter if you are not also a non-fighter. If the concept of non-fighting is not there, you cannot be strong if you are not also weak, because the whole idea of any opposite pole cannot exist without its opposite. This is something which I'm sure we all understand. It's just not very easy to explain. Opposites are normal and they harmonise. They do harmonise when we don't place a judgment on them. The angel is including all the liquid in both jugs, blending them. That's what temperance means. Tempering steel to make it stronger. You blend it in alchemy with another material, and that's what she's doing. She's blending, harmonizing. She's adding to the mixture using the two opposites. And this happens all the time. We do it quite naturally. We move from work to rest, from making money to spending money, from production to consumption. It's the wheel of fortune again. It's a turning of opposite values in our life. This is the material world that we live in. But because of the presence of miracles and the angel, the liquid in the shape of an infinity symbol, and that diagonal trajectory, there's something else going on here as well. This is not straightforward being and doing material opposites. And this leads the detective in us to presume or to ask whether there's something happening outside of duality here, because that's where miracles exist. And I take that as indicating the other jug is the jug of being, the jug of unity, that we are all the time, that we are in all the time. And what we do in this material life is constantly juggle unity with duality, even if we don't know it. We are unity expressing via duality. Yeah? So this is where I wanted to start the talk. I think I forgot to mention it. There's a very venerable dictum in Gnostic Christianity: the kingdom of heaven is within you. Was it the words of Paul or Jesus? I'm not sure.
Jesus.
Who?
Jesus.
Jesus. Jesus, right, okay. So what did he mean by the kingdom of heaven? He meant God. He meant love. He meant being. He meant eternal spirit in my understanding. And that is unity. We are unity. Unity is within us. And all the time that we are doing, that we are engaged with the world, even with ourselves, we are at the same time. We simply are. We are unity. We, like the drops of rain falling into the ocean, or the water, the drops of water in the ocean, the bubbles, if you will. They are completely made of everything else in the ocean, and so are we. We're completely made of unity, expressing in an individualistic way via duality. Tony Parsons. I cannot recommend this book highly enough. Here we are. Open Secret, fantastic book. He says, enlightenment, as if he's describing this very tarot card. Thank you. He says, enlightenment is the bridge. Here we have the liquid bridge between the timeless and my illusory sense of separation. Okay? So he seems to be saying there's no need for us to just be being. There's no need for us to live on a cloud, remote from the normal everyday affairs of the world. Because if we're enlightened, we're actually bridging that with being here in this world. There's another saying, in the world but not of the world. So that allows for us to be unity and duality, to be expressing unity in our duality. And that is what the angel temperance, in my being interpretation, is representing. Problem arises when we start judging though. We lose that ability to balance and to keep the flow moving between our different sides of our energy. Hamlet, there is nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so. And perhaps that is the major interference with this process that happens naturally. Our tendency to want to judge, to want to think, yes, I like that, no, I don't like that. Yes, that's nice, that isn't. That's beautiful, that's ugly. That's good, that's bad. It's that judging which is so interfering to what we are as unity. Or presence, another word for unity. Tony Parsons again. Presence is our constant nature, but most of the time we are interrupting it by living in a state of expectation, motivation, or interpretation. Always on our mind, something. It seems as if our minds are constantly getting in the way, but our minds belong to the dualistic world. But in their place, they're fine. But when the mind takes over, and we lose all sense of that unity, that connection between opposites, which gets broken. And that leads us into more and more trouble, as we will see. If we manage to keep the process going, it's a beautiful, as it says, a Taoist kind of alternation between our different energies. Tao is ever yielding, it says in the Tao Te Ching, constantly creating. It's this constant flow, organic interchange or interplay between the different sides of life, being and doing and making money and spending money, giving and receiving. It all harmonises beautifully when we're in the flow. And when we're in the flow, we can begin to realise that we have access to a side of creation that is mystical and magical and totally wonderful. We begin to realise that we don't actually have to do anything to create. We can just do nothing. This is the basis of creation of miracles according to matrix energetics. I brought in the two books on the subject by Richard Bartlett, and he has a formula for his work, which is drop down into your heart, place intent, do nothing. And he has healed people of cancer, he has healed cripples, he has enabled total transformation to happen instantly through doing this. Through doing this, not doing. Yeah? And it's tapping into the quantum field, if you like, in the scientific terminology. The less you do, the more you accomplish. Creation out of the void, because what we're doing is stepping out of our egos and allowing the infinite goodness to do the doing, to be the creator, which it is anyway. It's not us as individual mind beings who is the creator. It's the eternal, the absolute. Creation out of the void becomes possible when we allow that, when we don't step in the way, when we don't see ourselves as being on a journey or as having to support the world on our shoulders. Spiritual alchemy is another name for it. More miracles. Miracles become possible. Miracles, an example is, if anybody is familiar with the concept of entanglement, two particles created at the same time, in the same conditions, separate them no matter how far, travel to the opposite end of the universe, introduce a change to one particle, and the same change will occur instantaneously to the other particle at the same moment. Is that faster than light travel? Communication? Or is it that they were never actually disconnected? Yeah, it's called entanglement, and it says that everything in the universe is connected with everything else. We are all one. We're all connected with ourselves, with everybody, everything on this planet, and with all other planets, with the vast cosmos. That is where you are in this space of unity consciousness. That is where we are. Yeah, it's vast. It's beyond contemplation even, because in our minds we are locked into duality awareness. That's all we can think. That's all we can entertain linguistically and mentally. The idea of a separate identity and of there being an I and a you, and in here and an out there, a subject and an object. That's all we can think of. But in reality, there is we are consciousness, which is infinitely beyond all that. That's why I have the white space containing the limitedness of our dualistic awareness. That is limitation. We live in limitation. We wake up when we shuffle off this mortal coil, and we go off into totally unlimited being. And we experience true liberation. Non-duality is possible now if you so-called become enlightened. Nisargadatta, one of the great teachers of Advaita, non-duality in the Indian tradition, is the author of these words. And this is his book, which I believe occupies an entire window of Watkins' bookshop at the moment. He says, non-duality is beyond awareness. There is no cognition, only pure being, nothing in particular. So, it's a mind-boggling concept, totally. But we're going to stay with it if we can. Okay? What we can say, it allows miracles to happen. We don't know how, but we trust, and they do happen. When you work with matrix energetics, as I have, miracles do happen. Maybe in only small ways. Maybe not at all sometimes. But if we step out of the idea of being the doer, anything is possible. Trust me, anything is possible. In unity consciousness, everything is entangled. Space is just the construct that gives the illusion that there are separate objects. Time and space are not reality. They are conditions that allow us to think about reality. And when we do so, we will immediately limit ourselves to dualistic awareness. But we can trust and we can allow what's to happen, and anything is possible. Absolutely anything. The other side of it is that we slip further and further away from unity and into duality, and we really get stuck in there sometimes. Okay, and that's what this card is all about. It's about the extreme of duality, when we fall ill physically, or when mentally or in our lives nothing seems to work, and we get hung up and we get addicted and we get into all kinds of terrible situations because we've broken off that flow. We've judged something in ourselves and we've isolated it, and we've kind of called it a sin, and we've tried to kind of distance ourselves from it. But like I said earlier, opposites belong together. You can't do that. So guilt will arise, or fear will arise. The devil is the incarnation of all those things, those negative manifestations like guilt and fear and vindictiveness and jealousy, hatred, lust, power. Yeah, idea of wanting power for yourself. And a very, very curious and unmistakably unsettling figure the devil is in this original tarot representation. But the devil is actually blue. The skin is blue, which is a spiritual colour. In Hinduism, the deities are always pictured as blue. So he's a spiritual being. He's part of us. He's part of our vitality and our aliveness. But he's kind of a mixed up, distorted part of us. Part of us that's gone to extremes. He wears the antlers attached to his helmet, or horns. Antlers. We could take these as horns, and so do the two imps. What do they symbolise? Passion, I would say. Yeah, the horns of the goat, the one who is, what's the word for it, when someone is taken, whose place is taken by another. Can't remember the word for it. Tremendous passion and anger and fury is there. That's what the devil can incarnate. The devil in us, in all of us. It's there. Jung said that this is the depth of our unconscious, of our underworld being. This is the shadow that we all have to face sometimes. That's what he said. I'm not saying that. That's what Jung said. Yeah? But what else is in this card? The wings of the bat. It symbolises darkness. The devil inhabits the realm of the dark, the underworld that we hate we dare not face. And the ground is black again, like we saw on the nameless card. This is an underworld realm that we're in. For all that, there's no hypocrisy. He's not afraid to show himself when he appears in our life. He's actually waving, I think, and sticking out his tongue, saying, "Look at me." He's tempting us. The devil is always tempting us. He wants us to join with him and to get sucked into his power games, his mind games, and his viciousness. He feeds on that. Yeah? And we feed him by continuing to kind of ignore the negative. Oh, I'm positive. I'm okay. I will just bring down happy thoughts of light, new agey, mantras and good wishes for everybody. There's no negativity in me. That is what feeds the devil. Okay? Our disowned passions become our shadow. That's what Jung said. I totally agree with him. Purpose, hope, belief. We think we have a purpose in our life, do we? The opposite of that, and opposites belong together, is confusion. If we think we have a purpose, we will experience confusion. If we think we have hope, if we think we have a strong sense of belief, we will experience doubt, because they go together, they define each other. Yeah? And then the more we kind of distance ourselves from what we disown, the more we grow this being called the shadow, according to Jung. So what's the answer? What do we do with this? How can we deal with this problem, this situation? Very, very tricky. Nobody has ever come up with, a one-size-fits-all answer to the shadow. And Jung's whole psychology was all about helping his patients to deal with it. So what do the masters say? What do the teachers of enlightenment and non-duality, Nisargadatta, John de Ruyter, perhaps if there's anybody we could turn to for insight, maybe they are the ones. So what do they say? What John de Ruyter says is confronting the devil in us, our fears, our dark side, is no good whatsoever. Hiding from it is also no good. Why? Because these actions focus on it. And it's true, the devil occurs in the being half of this journey, according to this paradigm. So the devil is not, this devil card is not about valiantly facing and conquering our dark side. This is the being part of the major arcana. There's nothing to do, and I think this is the key to it. Confrontation will not help, and neither will running and hiding from our dark side. What John de Ruyter says, and I bless him for it, I really appreciate this. Instead, we can focus on living in a way in a way that is true. Give not our focus to the dark side, to what we are afraid of. Simply focus on what is true, a true way of being, a true way of living. You do not need to figure out your fears, they do not matter. There is no fear that can live or be present inside the space in you that is true. So we're back again to the saving grace of our eternal being, of unity, consciousness. We really cannot live just in duality. We have to appreciate, I'm sorry if I sound dogmatic, but there is this unity in us, which is beyond all the silly games that the devil gets up to, and really makes us just say, we should just laugh at him. He's such a comical figure, isn't he? It just looks so stupid. And there's a joke, isn't there? A man walking along the path to salvation, believing that he had found the truth. I have found the truth. And the devil comes up to him and says, excellent, well let me help you organise it. So in this card we have the organisation of the truth. Yeah, the one who's found the truth is living by it, and now has built up this wall, this tower, this ivory tower, to protect this truth. Yeah, you see the tower here, very phallic tower, very well protected, but it's also a prison. It's what we cling to, what we feel will save us, actually imprisons us if we cling to it. Again, it's more food for the ego. Yeah? The devil helps us organise our truth. We build out of it a rigid system. We defend and imprison ourselves in it. Consciousness is our saving grace. Consciousness intervenes, and we are reborn. If we look at this miraculous scene, we've got the two inhabitants of the tower supposedly falling out of it, but another way of seeing that is a birth taking place, emerging from the womb. One figure half in and half out. A rebirth taking place at the same time as the ultimate disaster and collapse of all one's ideals. A rebirth is taking place into something new, a liberation. They're touching the plants, which symbolise growth. They're touching the ground, the organic ground. There's a delightful magical rain of coloured balls. There's a miracle taking place here. And the lightning that knocks off the top of the tower, take a closer look, what is it? It's a feather. Well, blow me over, blow me down. You could have knocked me over with a feather. How does that strike off the top of the tower? It's a miracle. Perhaps it's the hand of God. Perhaps it's consciousness finally intervening when the despot has got so rigidly enclosed in his regime and his quest for power. Finally, there is a miracle, an act of God. Another symbol, if you like, another clue that there is a rebirth taking place. That strange little flesh-coloured fetus at the top, rather like the fetus in space at the end of 2001: Space Odyssey. That visionary film, being reborn facing the world as its plaything and being reborn to a new existence out of the drama of what has just happened. La Maison Dieu has various meanings. In French, that means the house of God, what we call a church. Could be organised religion, what we're looking at here. The downfall of. Could be La Maison Dieu. I haven't researched this, but there are other puns going on here with the French. My knowledge of French doesn't allow me to say that. It's just called the tower in the Rider-Waite pack. Okay, so let's move on. The next card is called the Star in English, and it features a star maiden, a woman, naked, unassuming, unpretentious, very clear, very pure, very open, very sincere, very humble. And if this is a journey, if this is a path, she is seemingly what emerges after the ultimate catastrophe. There is a sense then of healing, of clearing. There is a sense of everything is all right, after a shock we return to honesty, a sense of honesty. And it's called the Star. We have there 8 shining stars, each highly individualized, very sharp, different colours, different shapes, sizes, symbolizing perhaps the inner light that is now able to shine from within. And the cosmos. The woman is kneeling on the ground. She's very well connected to organic life, to the material, earthy life, but at the same time, she's there with the cosmos, with the sky, with the stars, with all of being, able to be both material, earthly, and unearthly, cosmic, unity. Love is the act of always giving. She's giving, she's pouring into the ground, nourishing, fertilizing, trusting completely in abundance, that everything is all right, and one can just give and be in the flow. If you are a giver, you embody the divine power within you, because there is no end to the resource, because the divine is a giver. When we are divine, says Ramtha, we are givers. The divine is nothing but a giver. We are giving. And again, a woman, the feminine side of nature, not trying to get anything, the feminine side of us, but open to receive or to receive what happens rather than to take action, or to simply give rather than to take. It's a beautiful card. In a tarot reading, it symbolises optimism or hope, or some kind of renewed trust in life. But I think it has also this connection with unconditional loving and giving and honesty. So we come now to the final card in this series, number 18, which is bears the same root number as the Hermit. So it's kind of maybe the dark night of the soul. It's the very end of all this process of learning about being, with all the experiences we're having, when maybe things are darkest and gloomiest. And it is a very unsettling, disturbing scene. It shows a rather strange-looking pool of water, murky water with a crayfish swimming on it or underneath it. Rather kind of unsettling animal to face. And then 2 more weird and wild animals, whether they are wolves or dogs, we don't know, howling at the moon. And rocks, wildlife, nothing to represent civilization except those 2 towers. It's a very strange scene. And above it we have the moon, but not a pretty face in the middle of the moon, rather kind of the face of an old crone, face perhaps of a moon goddess who is living in solitude, away from everyone else, who is there in her own thoughts. And the moon is all about our thoughts, our dreams, our fantasies, this particular card, that can run away with us. And we are not there. There is no subject in this card. The subject is taken over by thoughts of what's going on. Perhaps illusion, perhaps confusion, perhaps deceit. And for me, this is saying we live in an illusory dream world. This material reality, that's what it is. It's a dream world. It's a dream that we create ourselves according to how we think and feel about it. That becomes our reality. Judgment separates us. Only judgment separates us from this now. But we judge anything, whether we like it or whether we're comfortable with it. Are we afraid of it, or are we trusting it? I don't think there's much trust in this card. I think there's a lot of confusion. What's going on? It could be our dreams or nightmares. Without me, there is only vibrant oneness. But when we take ourselves out of the equation, perhaps there is just what there is. And there is just this presence, which welcomes the unknown. We are presence. All of this, yes, it's strange, but we welcome it. Richard Barker, our beliefs about reality, our beliefs, enslave us to the kinds of experience we are likely to have. So this is all about living in a closed system where we believe. We believe this, we disbelieve that. That is very much a system that will limit us. If we live in an open system, we allow anything to be true, anything can happen. We perhaps see through the entire unreality of that scene. Because the reality is that perhaps it is unreal, perhaps it is just an illusion, and perhaps the only reality is what the mystics say, that we are consciousness. What is within us is the greatest power in the universe, says John the writer. It is all in us. Nisargadatta, all experience happens in consciousness. And you are the root, the source, the foundation of consciousness. Rather, everything is within you, because the God that you are allows both limitation and unlimitedness, both duality and unity. It's there in us. Quantum physicist John Hagelin, the deepest level of truth is the fundamental truth of unity. At the deepest subnuclear level of reality, you and I are literally one. This is not a spiritual teacher, this is a scientist. You and I are literally one. Seems to me to be saying that there's no need to be doing anything. We can just be ourselves. And even Jung perhaps comes around to acknowledging this. Is there a path to being? He says yes, the essential thing is the opposite, which leads to the goal. That is the goal of a lifetime. He says, yes, there is a path to being. You've got to do something, you've got to achieve something, work on yourself, confront your shadow. But I think he also says no. I think he allows the opposite side of the argument. He says, of course, there is little or no hope that the unitary being can ever be conceived in thought or language. But this much we do know beyond all doubt, that empirical reality has a transcendental background. Empirical reality, duality, does have a transcendental background. There seems little, no doubt. He does seem to be admitting that. So yes, just be. That's all we need to be. All we need to do. But I'm not saying to give up doing entirely, because the other half of the pack we haven't had time for tonight is all about doing. It's all about creation. Creation is also part of our nature. Creation in openness, openness to presence. What are these qualities of presence come from Tony Parsons? He was pressed to describe what are the qualities of our unitary being. He said, presence is unconditional love, compassion, stillness, and joy without cause. That's our essential nature. Being timeless, it sees no path to tread. It is my home, it is already that which I am. So beyond time, if there is no time, how can there be a path? how can we do anything but just be ourselves? Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, we're 9:10 now. If anyone needs to go, I mean, do feel free. I know the transport situation, but we just thought we'd have sort of 10 minutes question time just to sort of round off. Does anyone have any questions? I'll need a moment just to think.
Basically, it was your aspect about the conversation about the shadow and what spiritual teachers have to say about the shadow. Would you say that spiritual teachers also have a shadow element to deal with as well?
I can't speak.
Enlightened individuals.
Yeah.
So-called enlightened individuals.
Yes. A teacher called Satyamadi, who's actually a white American, he's not Indian. He said that since enlightenment happened to him, contraction, he calls it that, still occurs.
Yeah.
The contraction of his thoughts, his when he faces reality that is sometimes very uncomfortable or disturbing, he experiences that as a contraction. But it only lasts a moment. And then he's once again back in the sense of oneness.
I see. So, would you say, because he's obviously what you were alluding to was that by being in a state of just being somehow unified with opposites, basically, shadow, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So would it be in a state of contraction that, because there are examples of spiritual teachers who have shadow elements that Genpo Roshi, for instance, very recently.
Right.
And so I wonder if that has to be purely in a state of being basically on a mat or something like that.
Right. So we have to be careful who we call a spiritual teacher. I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Be very, very, very careful. The Tibetans always say, test your guru, or the one you want to be your guru. Continue to test him, ask him questions before you accept him as your guru.
Yeah.
Because there are no end of false prophets out there.
Did Jung write anything interesting on his tarot cards?
On the internet, there is a site that has delved into a few pages that Jung wrote, describing each of these cards in a couple of lines, 2 or 3 lines, and that's the only thing that Jung ever committed to paper about the tarot. But he did seem to be approving of it. He saw them as each one as an archetype. He wanted them to fit in with the idea of the collective unconscious, and archetypes being stages or situations representing symbols that represent stages or situations that we face in life, that everybody faces in life, because they mirror a part of our psyche.
But Jung was very keen on the I Ching, wasn't he? Because he did a marvellous introduction to the book I Ching. He wrote the Wendt book, the original I Ching book, which he was asked to by his close friend, the guy who wrote the I Ching, and he was so enamoured with it that he decided to use the I Ching to ask the I Ching itself what it was saying about itself. So he applied the process of reading the I Ching to the book itself, and came out with an absolutely astonishing outcome, because it literally authenticated what the book was saying. It's truly a marvellous piece of writing. It's in the introduction to the classic I Ching book, and really shows just how much effort Jung had put into the notion of symbolism and the whole process of divination as far as cards are concerned.
Thank you.
Well, one question I had there was, and I think it's part of the use of the term, was miracle.
Yes.
I mean, obviously from a theosophical point of view, or from HBB, there are no such things as miracles.
Right.
But I think what she's talking about is that when something happens, it has to be within the laws that exist.
Okay, miracles, precognition, clairvoyance, entanglement, the scientific concept of faster than light travel, faster than light communication, synchronicity, Heisenberg uncertainty principle, where the observer collapses the wave function. I mean, these are miracles that cannot be explained by conventional thinking or science or logic. That's what I mean as examples of miracles. And I think they do happen when we open our mind to the existence of them.
Yeah.
And to add to that, the empirical having a transcendental source, if you like, would be a concept that would lead into the fact that you can create miracles, drop down into the heart,
yes,
leave the intent and withdraw. This is always the way of magic,
yes,
in changing form. You know, test it, it works. And it goes beyond the sort of empirical. Then it's a case of they say you having faith, but it's a case of knowing. It's a Gnosticism in itself. It's a knowing, and I think even Jung, when asked, did he believe in Christian background and so on, he said, oh, "This is a difficult word for me. Believe. Let's say I know." And then, he had lorry loads of mail asking him what did he know.
Yeah. I would question the phrase we can create miracles. Maybe we can allow miracles to happen.
I'm an Orthodox background, and the
Right.
Orthodox background diverges on the fact that you let it be, because in the letting it be and accepting anything, you can accept things that you may not be able to discern at a transcendental level. So you are in fact responsible, a co-creator, rather than allowing it to come in from another source.
Right.
You have an accountability for that which you create.
So we're creating in partnership with the divine.
Ah, right.
Right. Yeah. Co-creation. Thank you. Yeah.
What I did like about your talk was the terrific concentration on our own individuality. I think you did very well in empowering most of us in terms of understanding what it's about. That really, you are the person who can do it yourself.
No, I'm not. I'm just.
I'm using the words in a way to say
yes.
We, as all of us, you're empowering all of us to do who we want to be,
yes.
and that you're increasing our individuation, if you like.
Right, yeah. Individuation meaning becoming all we can be.
Yes, that's right. That's what I meant.
Okay.
That's what I meant.
I would like to throw it open to everybody here and ask you the same question, or take a vote on it. Do you think that there is a path to being,
Yeah, in all of us.
Is there a path to being, or is being simply a mystery? On which side would you fall?
Many paths.
Is there a path through meditation, through Tai Chi, through Tantra? Is there a path to being?
Yeah.
Or is it simply a mystery? I mean, who says there is a path, a Jungian path? Well, we've got one hand. Two. Three.
Can it be both?
Can it be both? A path and what do you mean by both?
A
path and no path.
Yes.
Path and a mystery.
Dual question. Okay.
What?
Actually, one of the easy ways into that sort of existential conundrum is Gestalt. This is a matter of being responsive and conscious and aware at any moment in your life.
Right.
And that sort of makes a statement, even in your thought, makes a statement which has a reaction somewhere in the great ether. The butterfly that moves,
You're using the notion of now, which is the power of now, which is the moment of decision. which is the timelessness of this moment, which is incredibly powerful.
Right. Is that the book by Eckhart Tolle?
That's right, yeah.
Yes. He's another one of the Western teachers of enlightenment.
Yeah, right.
And it follows on from that the now gives us the theory that the time travels through the now. We never travel through time. It's a common misconception that we travel through time. Physics, time travels through us.
Time travels through us.
Through the eternal now.
Through
I
the
mean,
eternal now.
you had an illustration of, you were saying the sun was going around the earth.
Yes.
Well, we all know, in fact, that is an illusion. The earth goes around the sun, but it's a common illusion, and one that we all refer to. And it's very much the same with time. It appears like we travel through time. And all our stories, our Doctor Who's and whatever, deal with it like that.
Yes.
But the quantum physics tells us that time just travels through us.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
And that gives us a better understanding
Yes.
of the eternal now.
Yes. Which book says that?
No, that's just
That's just one of the ideas of quantum physics.
Well, it's not. It's an old idea which fits in with all spirituality, all profound spirituality. Profound spirituality, in my view, never deals with time, travelling through time. It always talks about the now. Always. And time travels through that.
Okay, is there any more questions before we close for the evening? No? Okay, so like I say, this is the last lecture for this term, and we start again on September the 7th. But I would just say for people who haven't been here before, that the purpose of the Gnostic Centre of the Theosophical Society is to create a platform for the promotion and advancement of Gnostic thought and practice in order to aid seekers after truth and the soul's return to the Pleroma, to provide a centre for Gnostics and those of a Gnostic tradition to meet in central London for fellowship, networking, and to establish a coherent modern Gnostic voice for the 21st century. So anyway, thank you very much for coming this evening. Thank you again.